Hello everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Show Me How It's Done. Unfortunately, this is our last week of celebration, which is the time of year where you can spend $60 and receive something free from our little mini catalog right here. There's the front. So I thought in celebration of that, I just wanted to go all out and we're going to do not one, but 3 cards today using the Rainbow of Happiness suite, because the Rainbow of Happiness Designer Series paper is part of that selection that's going away. So if you like these cards and if you love this paper, you have until February 28th to order it. It's a freebie with the $60 order, but you can order as many as you want. So if you are stocking up on paper, adhesives, paper pumpkin subscriptions, you could probably stock up on a few of these in your collection. And that Rainbow of Happiness bundle then will be carrying on into the spring. I don't know if it's going to show up in the next catalog. We won't find that out until April, but we do know that this is still good, at least for the next couple months. So I wanted today to show you 3 projects using those materials. So if you are watching live, hello, make sure to say hi in the comments. I may or may not be able to see it depending on how laggy the internet is, but I will definitely come back and answer any questions you have later. And I just am so happy that you're able to watch this, whether it's live or not. So card number 1 is a card that I really had a lot of fun with. So let's get you set up with the materials that you need to follow along if you'd like to make this card as well. Okay, keep them all in my little envelope. There we go. Missing something. Okay, so step number 1 is to give yourself a card base. So I used Night of Navy for this card, and I have cut my piece of paper at 4 1/4 by 11, and I'm putting a score mark at 5 1/2 so that I can make a nice folded card that folds up and gives you kind of a nice elongated version of this project. The second piece you're needing is this background here, and that is the hexagon Hive embossing folder that you're seeing right there. Or sorry, just the Hive embossing folder right there. And I have cut this piece of paper at 4 inches by 5 1/4. So that's ready for us to go. You can also cut a piece of white for the inside of your card, just so you have something to write on. This is also 4 by 5 1/4. Now the rest of these pieces are going to kind of come from different scraps. So I am doing a little bit of die cutting. I've made a set of clouds using our basic border dies, and these kind of get lost if you're looking for them. So on page 162 in the main catalog, basic border dies. There's ones that have like really nice envelope looks. You've got kind of some zigzag waves, very fancy curved, but then this one in the back I thought looked like clouds. So that's what I'm using it for. I used a piece of paper that was 4 inches wide, but it's completely up to you how tall you want that paper to be. I do suggest starting with something at least 2 1/2 inches, but of course, if you wanted it to cover more of the card, you could make that piece taller. Go to 3 inches, even 3 1/2, but do make sure that you can fit whatever decal you want up in this empty space. So I would say anywhere from 2, which would kind of make this a little shorter, to probably about 3 would be a safe bet for you to cut that, and then you can use the dies to give yourself some nice clouds. Now I've only done 1 layer of clouds, but as you saw when I laid this down, it does look really cute if you wanted to do 2 layers. So then in that case, you would cut yourself 2 pieces of scrap, run those both through, and do your clouds as you wish. Okay, but I wanted just the 1 set because I kind of just wanted the rainbow to stand out. And then my other random pieces here, these 2 come from our layering circles dies. So I've got the white that coordinates with my Bermuda Bay. I think these are about the 3rd largest size, but then again, you can always decide that you'd like to go bigger. You can't really go smaller because unless you're going to cut your rainbow down, the largest rainbow needs to fit in that section. And then the rainbow and clouds hopefully are a little self-explanatory. Those were cut using the Rainbow of Happiness die set. So it's this all-in-one piece. So what you're going to need to do is, if you're cutting this for multiple cards, you'll cut this 4 times in 4 different colors, and then each card will be different. You'll have, you know, the pink as the largest and so on. So I used Granny Apple Green, Bermuda Bay, Melon Mambo, and Bumblebee if you're looking to match my colors. If you only want to do one card, my suggestion, and if you have this paper, is to take the Rainbow of Happiness paper, take your die, and run it through like so. You will cut out each of these arches all in one pass. Then you don't need to do it 4 times and you've only made 1 card with it. Okay, so that's a really easy way for you to use this paper. You can get 6 full rainbows, and then also don't forget to make use of these partial rainbows because they can be really pretty, kind of coming on the edge of a card or something like that too. But this die is great because it's all in one place for you. And this paper is so lovely. So those are the pieces, and I just cut my little clouds out of some scrap white. This is actually my velvet, kind of leftovers from the Christmas catalog, if you have any of that. But any white will do. If you have pearlized paper, that would be gorgeous. Totally up to you. So let's get on to assembly. Okay, I'm going to just start with my card base for now. So I'm going to get this white piece put on the inside, and you can always come back later and add a stamp set or even some designer paper to kind of dress this up. But I really just like to make sure I have something to write on so people can read what I actually want to say to them. Okay, so that's just going on the inside. Oops! I used a scrap from something. I don't really like that. Hold on, get myself a new one. That's like Christmas sentiment. There we go. I must have had an extra hanging around. Okay, start over. Plain piece of white. Good thing I have these cut in my cupboard. I just sit down one day and like cut a whole like 3 packages worth of paper into this size because I use them all the time. So it's very easy now for me to just grab them. If I need different sizes, then I have to cut them, but that's okay. All right, so there's the inside of my card. Now for the outside, I actually want this to pop up and out of the page. And then I'm gonna also grab a punch, which I forgot to do, but it's our corner rounder. So you do not have to do this all the way on all 4 corners, but I thought it was really cute if you did 2 corners with this punch at the top. Now, if you don't own this corner punch, which is fantastic, by the way, you could use our old envelope punch board if you've got that. You could also use just a circle punch, and you just kind of slip the tip of this in and cut it. But whatever you have, or if you don't, it looks cute either way. So pop this up on dimensionals. And because we've embossed it with a very detailed embossing folder, you're going to want to make sure you've got quite a few dimensionals on there, just so that it stays relatively flat on your card for you. So I'm putting like 9 on there. You could even put more if you felt like it. But all the way around the perimeter for sure. There we go. And this is going on the front of my card. I've made sure it's opening the right way. Like so. Now we get to add some details. So here's my little clouds, and I have cut those a little long because I wanted to give you the choice. So you can either put this across the whole bottom if you want, or you can take your trimmer and cut it so that it's only at the 4 inch. Okay, so it's completely up to you. I'm going to do it 2 different ways. So this one, I've cut this at 4. This one is now 4 1/4. And I'm going to show you both versions. One where the clouds are only on the Hive background and one where the clouds are on the whole back of the card. Okay, so I'm just going to be very lazy and put 2 strips of tape right across my clouds, and that should hold them. Okay, I don't need it right to the edge because I don't really want them attaching to the bottom part of the Night of Navy. I just want them on the Hive. Here. Okay, so you can kind of see the difference. One takes over the whole base of your card and one also has a frame around it. So it's completely up to you, different preferences, but I wanted to show you both options. Okay, so we're gonna just move this guy out of my way for now and build my little decal. We'll add it to the card after. So the easiest thing to do first is this white circle. We're just using any sort of flat adhesive to get that onto our base. And once again, you could use any of the colors that you chose for your rainbow. They would all look really nice as a backdrop. So it doesn't have to be the Bermuda scallop. It could perhaps be Melon Mambo, Bumblebee, Granny Apple Green, totally up to you. So for my rainbow, I'm going to use my handy liquid glue and start with my largest of the rainbows. Now, if I was doing a bunch of these, I may use our adhesive sheets, perhaps on the back of some cardstock. And then that way, when I'm running these through, they're turned into stickers and I don't actually have to sit here and glue. But for the sake of my supply, I wasn't able to do that for the mass amount of cards I produced with this design. This is a similar or a familiar design to some of you because I did showcase it at one of my meetings, but I thought I would share it with everyone else and a tutorial of start to finish if you didn't participate in that. So for my rainbow, I just want to make sure that the bottom of my large rainbow is in line with the bottom of this rainbow here. Okay. So just lining up the bottoms and then the rest of the spacing will work itself out. And next layer. Perfect. Now, if you want, you can add a sentiment. I did a sentiment that actually didn't come in the Rainbow of Happiness set. You can see these are really fun sentiments, but they don't fit in the bottom of a circle space. I actually used another one of the Celebration sets, and maybe I'll grab it so that you can see while this dries for 2 seconds. It's called Special Moments, and it is a set that's free with a $120 order though. Okay, so this set here is free with a $120 order, and you can purchase it up until the end of the month. Okay, so let's just grab ourselves a sentiment from this. I have chosen just a card to say you're amazing, but there's so many choices. So I think maybe, where's my thinking of you? Here we go. Let's try this one. Thinking of you. And we're using Night of Navy ink because we want to match the color that's behind here. So I'm doing my stamping before my clouds because the clouds are getting bumped up on dimensionals and you don't want them in your way. So thinking of you. There we go. Right there. That aside. And I just thought this was a great all-around set. It's got little wordings, it's got large, it's got kind of all different occasions. So this is one that I plan to keep in my collection for quite some time. and it's actually like a $33 value at least. So now for my clouds, I have 2 of them, and I'm going to pop those up on dimensionals, just mini dimensionals in the back. And they're going 1 on each side of the arch here. And then some of you will notice I have a little glimmer on my on my clouds, and I decided to grab my Wink of Stella because I love this guy. And I'm just going to scribble onto my cardstock, and it gives just the slightest little tinge of magic because I like this. Okay, see there. Your decal you can now turn over, and we're going to put dimensionals on the back of that and pop this onto the front of our card. Or again, because it's going on something that's embossed, make sure there's a few more than usual. And grab yourself your card. There you go. And I like to just put it kind of center top of my space there. So there are my 2 versions of this card. Of course, if you wanted to see the thinking of you with the frame look, there's one as well. So it's completely up to you. Do you like the frame, or do you like the clouds going all the way across and kind of taking over? Both options are great, and I love the use of these basic border dies just as clouds. They're really cute. Okay, so there's card number 1. I'm going to keep moving because I have 2 more cards to do with you, and I know this isn't our norm. Usually you're only committed to like half an hour with me or something, but hopefully you'll appreciate the diversion and have fun with these next cards too. Oops, I'm shaking you, sorry. Okay, so the next card I want to do is using a ton of the Designer Series paper. I have strips that are from the Designer Series paper. I have a background that's from the Designer Series paper, and these clouds are even a full sheet of the Designer Series paper that I have cut out using the cloud punch. So I didn't need to stamp these clouds at all. They were just ready to go. And the reason I wanted to do this card is because we often cut out all those pieces for the rainbow, but what happens to the negatives? So this is an idea for you to actually use the negative of the rainbow image instead of all the little arches that would be coming from that shape. Okay, make sure I've got all my pieces. Good to go. All right, let's get all your materials cut once again. So this time for my base, I am using Pool Party because that's a very prominent color found in this cardstock package. So same measurement though for the base. We're going 4 1/4 by 11 with a score mark at 5 1/2. Okay, and do remember, if I'm going a little too fast for you, you can always just come back and watch this later, and I will list all the measurements in the description on the YouTube video. Okay, so for the front and the inside of your card, you're going to want a piece of basic white. They are identical in size, 4 inches by 5 1/4. So one will go on the inside of your card, which maybe I'll just do now because, you know, you're busy cutting. And then I don't have to open this again. And the other one's going on the front of our card. So I decided to attach the piece of white that goes on the front with a flat adhesive, simply because I wanted my decal and my clouds to be the parts of the card that came out of the page. So you can just go ahead once more with any sort of flat adhesive and put this on the front of your card. There we go. Now, the strips of Designer Series paper that I chose, I just wanted the fun kind of night and day imagery. However, from the package, you can choose any papers that you like. They're all going to coordinate with this basic scheme because I've chosen colors that are found in the papers. So you're needing 2 pieces of designer paper, whatever pattern you'd like. They're going to be identical, and so they're going to be 2 inches by 5 1/8. Okay, and so when you're attaching these, turn them over, get adhesive on the back there. They will overlap a teeny tiny bit, and that is just fine. I chose the measurement 2 simply because I could get an even 3 out of my 6 by 6 paper right across. I guess technically you get 4 if you have a paper that can go sideways like this. This pattern is not directional. However, these ones are, so I could only get 3 out of the package or out of the page itself. Okay, so your first piece, just make sure you've got a tiny little border on the left-hand side as well as the top and bottom. It won't be large. I've purposely made it so they're rather small because we want the DSP to kind of speak for itself. And then your second piece, I actually like to just flip my card over completely, but make sure that now this is, you know, upside down to you, because then I can get the same kind of border once again, and I'm not trying to figure out how much is overlapping and whatnot, okay? So it's just the easiest way for me to put my stuff on, but of course you can do anything you want. And then I did cut a few more things out of designer paper. I guess let's grab those items. So while you're at the designer series paper cutting stage, I cut a piece of paper to go on the inside of my little writing piece. And this is a great way to use up any scraps you have, okay? So this page, you just want to make sure it's the same width across, which is going to be 4 inches. However, you can make this as tall or as skinny as you want, depending on the scrap that you have. So this is 1 inch. You can go 1.5. However much writing room you just want to make sure you've left yourself. So they're double-sided. You can use either one. This piece you're going to cut, and it's going to go under our rainbow image. So what I did was, how big was this guy? I think it is, oh, sorry. Maybe I didn't write down a measurement for this. I had a ruler. Here we go. There's no set measurement for it. You can always just take your decal and put it down. But if you want to cut yourself a piece, it would be 3 inches by 2 inches, which gives you more than enough to work with. Okay. Now for these strips, I use the Bumblebee paper. They are 1/4 inch wide. One strip will be 4 inches long. The other one will be 5 1/4. Okay. So let's attach these little guys on the inside here. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. And that just decorates your card a little bit more and gives you a chance to use up scraps. Okay. And the little pieces. Okay, so I like to just use these to break up any kind of like weird blending that you'd find between kind of just a strip of paper and a white. So if you put something solid, you could use a metallic paper, you can use any of the colors you find in your designer series paper, or black is a nice buffer as well. But you can see it kind of like, it's very stark between these two at the moment, but as soon as I put that border in, kind of breaks it up and gives you a nice division of night and day. Okay, so there's my pieces at the moment. So I use the exact same size of layering circle dies. So the scallop is in Pool Party and then white. And the difference is we're not going to attach these together first. I'm first going to attach these two pieces. So we do have a little bit of cutting to do, but on the white background, so the rainbow, turn it over and put a little bit of glue along some of your arches. They don't need to be all over, but you do want the pieces to stick down as much as possible. Okay, then you're going to attach this to your designer paper as nicely as possible. Let it dry for just a couple seconds. And when you're comfortable to start cutting, you're just going to trim around the outside here. If you're really uncomfortable with cutting, you could grab that circle die once again and just roll it through your cut and emboss machine. It will trim your edges for you. But if you move, like if you're not lined up perfectly, it kind of messes things up. So I just prefer to trim and it looks great. Okay, like this. Now that this is attached, you can attach this to your base. So just a couple pieces of tape go on there. And we'll attach to my scallop. Now, once again, before we're doing any sort of attaching to the main card, we do want to do stamping. I wanted to do just this little stamp. Oops, that's also from this. See, using lots of them. Hello Sunshine is from Special Moments. So I'm going to use that sentiment. You can use anything you want as well if you don't own this set. But because it's so tiny, I can actually attach my clouds here and not worry about bumping. If you're using a larger set, I suggest putting your stamp first and then attaching the clouds. So I've got one tiny cloud out of white cardstock. That's going on the left-hand side to leave room for my sentiment. And then one of your, see, they're different patterns too. One of your clouds is going on the right-hand side. So don't put dimensionals all the way on the edge of the cloud because that's kind of hanging off. Just put it in the bulk of this big section, okay? So this is going to hang off the decal like so. Add your sentiment. We're saying hello Sunshine. I thought that was perfect. There we go. And now we can add this to our card using dimensionals because they're great. And I don't need a lot. They'll stick on there. All right, and I put mine up near the top. Completely up to you where you decide you'd like yours to sit. So there you go. It does look a little different depending on which pattern you have or which designer series paper you choose, but you're going to get the same basic idea if you use those measurements and kind of follow that general pattern. But just as a reminder, not to throw these pieces out because they can be used for something really beautiful in the future. Okay, so there you go. There is card number 2. Now I hope I haven't worn you guys out yet because I do have one more card that I'd love to show you. And can, like I said, always come back and do this later, okay? So here is my card here. It was inspired by my lovely friend Allison Okamitsu. So this is Allison's card on the right. She cut out a variety of the rainbow bands using the largest of this die set here. And then we actually did a bunch of stamping onto the different rainbow pieces. However, I thought, hey, I'm just on a designer series kick roll. I want to not not use my stamps at the moment. I want to use up my scraps of paper. So that's what I did for my card. So I changed up the color scheme just a little bit so that it blended with some of the papers that I wanted to use, but it's the exact same idea and measurements. So thank you to Allison for the inspiration for this card. So I'm going to move hers away. You can take a quick screenshot if you want to try her design out later. And then we're going to focus on this card here. So, pieces galore. Gotta make sure I get all of them. There. Okay. So once again, quite a bit of cutting for you, but hopefully that's okay. I'm just gonna get myself reset because I have one more thing to show you. Yes. Okay. Here we go. So for your card base, I have chosen to use So Saffron because I wanted something nice and subtle. I thought this actually would be a really nice baby card theme if you need one. And I did end up doing a different fold simply because that's what Allison had done, and I was just kind of mimicking her measurements. You can use the other way too. But if you want to just make a standard card, you're cutting your paper at 5.5 by 8.5, putting a score mark at 4 1/4. Now for the outside and the inside of the card, we need 2 pieces of basic white. They're both measuring 4 by 5 1/4. One of them you see is very blank. That's for the inside. This one, we're adding a little bit of texture using the Stripes and Splatters embossing folder. So that one is designed for our mini cut and emboss machine. So it actually only embosses this much of your card, which is why we're adding a strip of designer paper. But if you're interested in that embossing folder set, it's in the mini catalog, the Spring Mini, on page 86. And the Stripes and Splatters, you get 2 of them. So one has the stripes and another has splatters. And I will show you just a swap card that I did or got with the Splatters embossing folder. So that's what you need. In order to cover up that excess space, we'll need a piece of designer series paper. And I cut this one at 1.5 by 5 1/4. So totally up to you what you decide to cut it at. It could cover more of this if you want, but I thought it was nice just to kind of cover the side and again, just kind of the measurement Allison had for her card. Now for decorating, we're going to use one of the Gallop Contour dies. So this set here, it's on page 158 of the annual catalog, the very big one, and it's the second largest of the scallops. So I've used these frames so often and I just absolutely love them. And then what we have on the inside is just a piece of plain white for our rainbow dies to set up against. And this piece, if you'd like to match the sizing, it is 2.5 by 3 7/8. And I know it's random, but that's just kind of what fits nicely inside the dots on this card. Okay, then pieces that you're going to want to cut, you will have to run these through your machine. Where's my die set? Ran away. There we go. So here we go. This is an all-in-one die. So you'll pick one piece of paper, roll this through. So I would suggest doing 4 of these cards because you're doing all the work and you might as well make 4 of these cards just with the rainbows in different orders. If you want to use up scraps, you can just kind of gently like lay this over top of a scrap and see what fits. But you might be a little frustrated at some parts when you get to the big one. So if you just do 4 pieces of paper with 4 different run-throughs, you'll be happy. Okay, so, and then little gray clouds. Allison had pool party clouds, which were adorable, but I wanted gray with my color scheme. Okay, so let's assemble. We're going to take this random square that went inside the frame, And that's where we're going to put our rainbow pieces. They are much larger, if you look at them, they're much larger than the piece of paper itself, and that's okay. We're going to end up trimming off the excess. So you want to start with your largest arch, and I just put double-sided tape on the back. You can use any other adhesive you want. And we're going to put our arch from the top left almost to the bottom right. Just kind of figure out where it fits the best. Okay, but you want to make sure that it's as close to the edge as you can with a nice little buffer, because these other pieces need to fit. So if you're worried about that, maybe sit here and line those pieces up first. But I've kind of figured out that the magic happens when you just do top left to bottom right, and then you can go on to your next piece. This one you'll give just the tiniest of white little borders in between, all the way down. Once again, you've got lots hanging off, and that's okay. Third piece. There we go. Is going to go right next to that. And fourth and final. There, now you've got all your little pieces, or some of your little pieces, out of your way. And turn this over, and if you want, you can use your trimmer, but I found the easiest thing is just a pair of scissors. Snip, snip. And another pair of scissors. Snip, snip, all the way up to give you a really cute rainbow border. So the reason we had that scrap now is, of course, we couldn't do that nice clean cutting on this piece. But we do want this to blend and look like it was all one. So I've put double-sided tape on the back of this rectangle, and we're going to add it inside that little stitched section. Okay, and now it kind of all looks like it was just one piece with a cute little frame. So a few other things to attach now at the moment. Let's work on our strip of designer series paper. Oh, I'm losing everything. This is what happens when I do 3 cards in a video. Oh well, hopefully you're enjoying it. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Put your little piece of DSP on the side. Could be any pattern you want, but I just wanted something subtle. So I went with some pool party squiggles. And turn this piece over. You've got designer or double-sided tape on the back, and this can go on your card. While I'm adding my white pieces, let's put my inside one in there so I don't forget it. 4. And once again, if you have any sort of scraps, it would be really nice for you to decorate the inside of this card, just like we did the last one. So you'd cut a strip that's 4 inches across, and then any height that you're interested in. There we go. So to add pieces to the front, let's do this. Number 1, dimensional all over this one. This is our focal point, and just a little tip, we are going to be putting a few of these clouds into the background. So what we're going to do is make sure to put our dimensionals inside the scallop section. You don't want them up in the corners here, just inside these dots, and that will make sure that we can still tuck that little cloud in the back. Okay. Now my clouds I cut out of smoky slate, but you can always use gray granite as well. That would be beautiful. And then you can stamp either in smoky slate or gray granite, whichever you chose for your piece. So I just cut out 4 little clouds. The easiest way to do that was to use all 4 of the clouds that the die set offered and run it through once, so that I ended up with 1 really large cloud, that's the one I stamped on, and then 3 rather small clouds. Okay, so it doesn't matter at all what order you put these in, but just whatever your largest cloud is, that's the one you want to stamp on, and that little thank you is part of the set here. Okay, so I'm going to start with one of my clouds that I'm tucking under the top, and I'm going to actually just use a glue dot because this is so tiny. So I'm going to use 1 glue dot. I'm going to tuck this cloud up at the top of my card. Now this cloud here on the side, you'll notice it has a really blunt edge. And so we're just going to take our scissors and cut as much as you want off the edge of that cloud. Doesn't have to be perfect because we're hiding the rest of the cloud under, so it can be crooked. Grab another glue dot and tuck this now near the bottom of our section, just lining up the edge that you trimmed with the edge of the card. Okay, so there's those 2. Now the next ones we're using dimensionals for, because we do want those popping up. So I'm going to put a couple dimensional, or 1 dimensional on the little one, 2 on the big, and it doesn't matter what order you do this in. Okay, I'm going to start, I think, with my large one, because I want to make sure that's placed exactly where I want it, which is between my blue and pink sections. And then this one can just tuck gently behind, like so. So there is card number 3. Now, if you aren't sick of rainbows by now, let me give you a little bit more inspiration. I'll just show you a couple cards that Allison made, and then I'm going to show you a couple other cards that I've designed to give you the ideas. I'm not demonstrating these ones. So this was another one of Allison's cards. She used the negative of that white circle, and then she actually placed cardstock on the inside of the rainbow just to give you kind of a couple different tones to look at. And this scallop is actually part of that die set too. It's really cute. And here's the splatters embossing folder. And then here's the one that was just stamped on. So she just stamped her cute little rainbow. She used the raindrops in the background for some imagery. And now the next 4 that I'm going to show you are actually from my class that I'm having tonight. So I do have 3 kits left if anyone did not sign up for this class and wants to join. The class is $25 for just your kit, or it's free if you place a $60 order. You will probably want the Rainbow of Happiness bundle to finish at least one of these cards, if not all, with the sentiments. So you won't get that in time, but I can certainly order it for you. You can do what you have time for and finish the rest with our video link later. These videos won't be made public, so all the tips and tricks and stuff are just for the attendees, but I can mail you a kit if you're anywhere in Canada, and then I will send you privately the video link as well. Okay, so if you're interested at all, just message me. We'll work out the details of what you're interested in. Okay, so I'm going to go through them really quick because they're just kind of like a fun little idea, but I'm not giving you any tips and tricks for them. So we're doing 4 cards tonight, and some of them have different color schemes to them. And this is the one I'm most excited about. Look, there's little nerds in there. But it will be a lot of fun. So message me if you haven't signed up. Thank you so, so much for joining me. And I will put these out one more time for you to look at. 1, 2, 3. I hope you guys got everything you wanted out of Celebration. If you haven't, You have till the 28th. If you're in Canada and you have any questions or need anything, please let me know. And I really hope you guys enjoyed today's projects. I will see you later. Bye!